Yes, I'm an Assistant Commissioner of State Police Force, an organisation of Victoria Police, about 20,000 employees, 16,000 sworn police officers. We have about 7.5 million population in the state of Victoria. Obviously, a lot of those are based in the centre part of Melbourne, where my command is. Essentially, my command comprises an operations and a capability divisions. Operations includes our detectives, our analysts, 2 forensic psychologists. A capability area works very much in the prevention space. They design simulations and exercises to work with other police forces and government. And I have a 4-lawyer-based counter-terrorism legal unit. So that's kind of my structure. We're quite niche. My command was only established in September 2015, so we're relatively new, even though we've been fighting against terrorism for many years. What I propose to do just with the presentation today is provide the context and challenges, I guess, that I see in our state in terms of terrorism, what our current responses are, so what we actually look like. And some concluding remarks, which I think in part will reflect on some of what's been said today. So in terms of background, this month actually marks the 5th anniversary of arguably the very first attack to occur in the Western world in response to ISIL's call for low capability lone actor or attacks in the West. That attack occurred in suburban Melbourne in September 2014, where 2 police officers from our joint counter-terrorism team were attacked with a knife by a male called Newman Hayder. They were both injured and responded, shooting him fatally. This incident really for Victoria Police, as similar events subsequently did for other law enforcement security organisations throughout many parts of the world. It was a significant shift in not just the type of attacks and attack planning that we'd become used to, but also in who was actually carrying them out. So some of the troubling characteristics of this transformed threat, at least from my perspective, include the increasing prominence of mental health, and I noticed that Eddie touched on that before. Mental health issues among terrorists and persons of interest. We often find that these individuals, terrorism is a path to address a range of personal and psychological issues, including suicidal ideation. Also, the influence of copycat-type behaviour, in which attacks tend to encourage other attacks. The involvement in terrorist behaviour of individuals assessed as low risk or inactive, reflecting the current impulsive, even erratic nature of the terrorist decision-making process. We really worry about those. I really worry about those that we regard as low risk. I don't know what low risk is, terrorist. The involvement in terrorist behaviour a blurring of the lines between terrorist and non-terrorist behaviour, especially where individuals may invoke an ideological motivation to justify or rationalise a more personal cause, for example, a suicidal ideation. Other challenges we face include the displacement of those affiliated with ISIL or ISIS, including women and children. In fact, in Australia in recent months, we've seen the return of a number of women and children. As a result, we're really grappling with a number of issues. For example, one, what type of risk do these individuals represent in the short, medium or long term? Bear in mind that terrorism-related risk can take various forms, including direct acts of violence, logistical support, recruitment, and the radicalisation of others. Secondly, how do we engage these individuals in a way that mitigates rather than aggravates the risk? Thirdly, how do we strike a balance between managing their welfare needs and our duty to ensure community safety? And fourthly, what ultimately should be the role of police in managing or assisting in the management of these individuals? The intergenerational transmission of extremist ideas and narratives of hate through the indoctrination of children, establishing how we break the cycle around the transmission of these ideas from one generation to the next, especially in a family context, remains a significant concern to us. The Victorian prison environment, with unprecedented numbers of convicted terrorists, these prisoners are likely to continue to present challenges for police because one of their important role in keeping the ideas associated with violent extremism alive, both in the prison and beyond, history shows that these individuals can exert an influence disproportionate to their numbers. Secondly, of their release back into the community after completing their custodial sentences. To what extent will these individuals continue to represent a terrorist-related risk? How can we mitigate that risk, including our CVE, countering violent extremism resources? How long will these individuals remain a terrorist-related risk? and what are their resource implications for CT policing. As the events in March in Christchurch, New Zealand reaffirmed, the problem we are facing is not entirely an Islamist one. Australian Brenton Tarrant, who carried out this attack which resulted in the death of 51 people, hovered on the periphery of the extreme right-wing movement. And like many Islamist-inspired terrorists, he operated alone, revealing few signs of his intent while subsequently serving as a model in other parts of the world for those determined to follow in his footsteps. The Christchurch attack has also had significant ideological implications, including drawing local and global attention to and support for eco-fascism, which has been invoked in one form or another by an increasing number of extreme right terrorists. We're also witnessing the expansion of non-traditional ideas and causes that can lead to terrorism or other forms of politically motivated violence, for example, militant environmentalism. And underpinning all these challenges are particular ideas and narratives of hate. Unless the spread of these ideas can be restricted and their essence challenged, we're failing to address one of the key strategic drivers of this problem. So in terms of and I won't call it best practice, I like to talk about effective practice because I'm not sure anyone could say we've got best practice around CT. But in terms of effective practice, in Victoria Police, our counter-terrorism practice have come to reflect a multifaceted, evolving and independent nature of the problem, as I've described it. This includes a greater emphasis on prevention, including through a counter-violent extremism unit that undertakes early intervention work in the community, including the engagement of convicted terrorists and other prisoners assessed as potential national security risks. The establishment in March last year of the Victorian Fixated Threat Assessment Centre, which is a joint Victoria Police, it's part of my command's initiative with our Department of Health, and we work closely with high-level mental health professionals working side by side, identifying and treating individuals with mental health problems that pose a national security risk. And of course, mindful of the critical importance of intelligence collection and analysis to the identification of both latent and imminent threats, we continue to explore new and innovative ways of identifying intelligence collection opportunities. We raise awareness of the indicators of radicalisation to violence amongst all our staff, particularly our frontline members. And we invest in strategic intelligence capability to ensure we keep abreast of key local and international developments that may impact our work and provide us opportunities to be proactive in how we meet new and emerging challenges. My command makes significant investment in research conducted both internally and in partnership with academia to ensure and enhance our understanding of why individuals are recruited into the world of violent extremism. This in turn feeds directly into the development and refinement of our risk assessment tools and our protocols. Regular research of this is critical to ensure that we keep abreast of changes in the threat environment, that our decision-making process is grounded in empirically based knowledge. Our latest venture takes the form of the recently established think tank known as the Applied Security Science Partnership. This is a collaborative effort involving my command, Victoria University and other state and Commonwealth partners. It will bring together counter-terrorism practitioners and researchers to generate operationally focused outcomes. We understand the importance of and invest heavily in a partnership-based counter-terrorism policing model. That includes an operational day-to-day level routinising cooperation through an integration of effort with our federal or Commonwealth partners. That integration establishes organisational procedural routine, openness, and establishes a tone of cooperation as business as usual. At an operational level, that's reflected in bodies such as my joint counter-terrorism team, which provides an integrated investive capability by bringing together state police, the Australian Federal Police and ASIO as our security partners. Engaging extensively with private industry and other areas of government as we seek support for our collective efforts to build resilience around infrastructure in crowded places. Finally, as a law enforcement organisation, our mandate and powers are derived largely from legislation. As such, we work closely through our dedicated terrorism legal unit to drive legislative reform through government. I guess in conclusion, I would say our approach to counter-terrorism is very much consistent with this conference's core theme of understanding the present and preparing for the future. However, one of the most important things to acknowledge in terms of that understanding and preparation is that domestic and international terrorism are the result of a complex interplay of local and international events, personalities and ideas. Understanding the strategic environment is critical in the interest of ensuring that our priorities keep abreast and even ahead of shifts in the operational environment. But what I can state with confidence is that for the foreseeable future, the principal drivers of terrorism will not go away, namely weak and failing states, thereby providing terrorist organisations the opportunity to extend their influence, grow and plan, the narratives of victimisation and hate that are so critical to the formation of grievances amongst both Islamist and right-wing extremists, and the existence of a small number of individuals within our communities for whom these narratives will continue to resonate for a range of highly personal and idiosyncratic reasons. I thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. Thank you.